Good morning. My name is Jim Hess. I'm a global supply chain manager at Google. I'm happy to be here today, and I'd like to discuss a new working environment that many of you have most likely been introduced to, but also how it's impacted IT hardware supply chain. But first, before we discuss the new working environment, what happened to the old one? Certainly it's still there in some way. But of course, we've created over the past year a new work from home workforce, and we'll discuss that and how things have been changing to impact that new environment. But also, more importantly, some considerations in supporting a hybrid workforce with IT hardware and how to sustain that. So what happened to our old environment? You know, in a survey, it's refreshing to go back a year ago and see a survey at the height of the outbreak of COVID-19, where 550 US employers were surveyed. And what was interesting is that 2/3 of them allowed the employees to start working from home. And a smaller portion were encouraging some or all to work from home. To include my company. And then some had a case-by-case basis. And we'll discuss here why these numbers are slightly different, but only 6% of companies surveyed at that time encouraged their employees to work from home in the hotspots. And so this shows a differing of opinions, right? So what were people concerned about? Were not people could just spend more time with their family or take care of their pets. They're concerned about their workforce protection. If their business can still continue to operate, even during an outbreak, where mobility is constricted, and they, of course, want to keep their employees healthy to sustain their business, but also in risk management too, in managing those people affiliated with either special accounts or activities or skills that do need to be kept safe. So the old environment went on to a pause, but it created a new workforce. As people were working from home, 54% of them said, well, you know, if I'm allowed to work from home, I would love to work from home either most of the time or all of the time. And 33% of them said, some of the time, but 11% just didn't care for it. So the ability to work, though, was uneven, not just between industries and skill sets, but also from the desire to. But it did create a strong indication that there is a new work from home workforce out. And that's a Pew Research poll that included the link for if you're interested. It has a lot of other good information and demographics. But what's the new normal going forward? I think as companies and industries, we're struggling to understand where we'll be next year or 2 years from now. What we do know is there's some leading companies that put out some remote work plans, and I tried to organize a few together. Amazon it will be allowing remote work through June 2020. Other smaller companies, Coinbase and Dropbox, you know, they think there's no good reason people can't work from home permanently. Those are smaller companies, though. Larger company like Facebook says let's do maybe 50% of employees working at home, and Microsoft is similar too. And we'll get back to a hybrid model and that hybrid construct and some advantages of that in a second. You know, Salesforce, in a way, also adopted a hybrid construct. You know, both with Microsoft and Facebook, Salesforce believe that, you know, you look at some people can work from the office and others can work from home. And it might not be as egalitarian as you might think. You know, some jobs require to be in the office to either meet the physical demand of the job or for special setups, hardware configurations, network configurations. It requires a physical presence in some cases. Siemens, which I was surprised to see a large European country in there as well, where they put in a flex work week as well, and Twitter. Google, not listed on here, is still considering options going forward. So currently, we are work from home permissible until this September of 2021. So what's the same about all of these companies? Well, almost all of them are American companies, but all of these are tech companies. So in the tech industry, working from home may be easier. So we mentioned a hybrid support model where some people work from home and others work from the office. As Microsoft, Facebook, and others in the previous chart showed that we'll have either a flexible work week model or some people in the office and some people not. It creates two populations that need to be supported with IT hardware. One population of employees working from home and the other population working from the office. This creates a unprecedented problem for IT hardware to solve, mostly through supply chain, but other support services and technical services and network infrastructure. So in a distribution model, how do we send out IT hardware products to people working from home? Well, quite obviously, you need a distribution channel that goes to their house. But from the office, quite oftentimes, there's a hub and spoke distribution channel that goes through an inventory location, maybe a warehouse, to another spot, to either a desk or to a unit supply point. But also the supply support network as being designed to function in inventories. In an omni-channel model, you have a large interneted network that focuses on direct-to-user support. That is the singular KPI. Can we get to the user with the right item at the right time with the right condition? But on the location campus-based, we have various inventories of assets that can be moved either based on one of 4 buildings in a campus or one campus in a city or metro area of 4 different campuses, all inter-supporting. And that is obviously very physical based, all right? So the technical support activities that make all that work are slightly different, because now with working from home, you no longer have the tech support guy to come to your desk, or you have no special desk to bring your laptop or your IT hardware to a technical support advisor so they can fix things. Now there's a remote requirement, so you have to call on the phone or other ways for remote technical support services if you're working from home. And if you don't have that support service configured, you need to create it. So work from office, different, right? You have that on-site ability, but unfortunately, tech companies in large have already had that remote capability established. Collaborative tools and software are also established and part of a tech company's DNA. All of those tech companies in the previous slide, all of those are global companies that have people that wake up every day, that turn on their computer and go to meetings with people all around the globe, a very distributed workforce. And to do that, you need collaborative tools and software. It just so happens that with an outbreak of COVID-19, those collaborative tools and software, already part of the DNA of those companies, become much more valuable to operations. So that is a universal capability. We need to apply both from the spectrum of the office and at home. But I alluded to also the last point. The network access and infrastructure is a key area, because for software development, quite oftentimes, access to a physical network is required. Obviously, we move a lot of data. In compiling, it's very cumbersome to do so over a SSH connection. But if you're working from home, you're doing just that. You're connecting to either a cloud-based server, and you're using either compute as a service. But if you're working from the office, you're using that hardware-based compute on a physical basis. So those are the challenges with this hybrid workforce. And we can just assume that going forward, because of the requirements of the work, some of these employees will work from the office, but others may work from home. What does that look like? Well, from a supply chain perspective, it all starts with a user request, right? And this is a somewhat a derivative of the supply chain operational reference model. On the top, a user is working from home. On the bottom, obviously, the other, right? So user is working from the office. But when they make that request, a demand on that supply system is created. Now, there's not two different supply systems, right? This is an omni-channel supply system. That demand is registered in the aggregate, and it is sent either to the direct channel to go to a work-from-home location, or it's sent into a regional channel. And that order management directs that order, because when the user makes their request, they're saying, I'm working from home today, or this week, or for the next year, and here's my work from home location. It may be my home address, or it might be the address of my parents in Turkey, or it might be my vacation address in Dubai. It's all the same. We have to have that direct channel capability to get to where those users are in a work from anywhere environment. Working from the office is different, right? So when we source that device, it could be sourced from a hub warehouse or a campus inventory location, and it proceeds through that physical distribution network that is echeloned based on their location. If not, and we're going to that work from home location, it goes to a value added reseller, or in some cases, we'll call them a distributor, to move those stocks directly to fulfill that order, or in some cases through a forward stocking location. Or a lot of times, many companies have a third-party logistics company or a 3PL operating a forward stock location, or FSL, to create an inventory within a region or within a distribution network to get to portions of the globe with that specific inventory. And as those demands start to move out of those inventories, either to the office or at home, we plan on replenishment and balancing that inventory back into our sustaining stocks. And those are either brought back from either the OEMs into our forward stocks and through our direct channel, or we look at our physical network of other inventory locations for work from office, because when that demand is sourced, inventory piles move in stockage levels. So stocks may be balanced between different inventory locations, or between warehouses and inventory locations, or from a regional value-added reseller in a replenishment basis into those inventory locations that the company operates. And then we move those out through that hub and spoke network or directly to the user. And when the user gets those, what looks like that support services that we mentioned that need to be available to the remote people, many companies now have started a global centralized online support capability, either on a 24/7 follow the sun basis, or in a centralized location. Wherever you need support, anytime you call, these people. And it could be any place around the globe, just on that 24/7 capability. Otherwise, you're at work and you have that on-site support services. Now, this is one of those hybrid examples where the requirement for support will be, as long as you have employees working away from the office and in the office, will be a combination of the two when you look at that support required capability. So we will have this central online support available to people working from the office and people obviously at remote areas, but we will also have that specialized online support at the office. And then returns as well, entering a return channel for, let's say, defective device, or if you're replacing or refreshing a device, you're going to return one back into that same supply system that it can. If you received a new device through the direct channel at home, you'll probably be sent an empty box at home to put your old device in to travel the reverse path through that network, or that on-site support service will pick up that device and it will go back through that location-based inventory basis. So when you examine the SCORE model, you can see some similarities between both the work from home and work from office models, and some shared capabilities that both need as we go forward with a hybrid workforce. So how do we optimize for that? Now, we mentioned that there may be some combination of people working from home and combination of people working from the office. Well, you have to plan for some unexpected combinations of scale. As we go forward, nobody, I think, is proposing to have the right solution on the correct way to do this, because some companies are expecting, as I mentioned earlier, a 50-50 workforce split between home and office. Some companies also on there are saying, well, maybe it's 60-40. Maybe it's just a small portion. What that scale looks like, we don't know. But what we do know is, for the same reasons why employees were initially sent home at the outbreak of COVID-19, is that physical workplace is changing to keep the workers safe. So many offices are taking 50% of their chairs out, and they're reconfiguring their desk areas to hold 50% less people to create a socially distanced and safer place to work if you're in the office. And that does create that extra 50% combination of scale. Others may have less than that, where they bring in fewer people and they rotate in on a basis of, I work from the office on 3 days a week, and I work from home the other 2 days a week. And there may be other combinations like that, but we have to plan for some degree of combination in the supply chain world. So that does make an imperfection going forward, but it shows us we have a requirement to be flexible in that. And if we didn't have an omni-channel capability to start with, we need to create it now. So when a user to create a demand in a supply system has to be able to use either a web portal or some sort of universally available UI where they can make a demand into that supply system wherever they are, from as I mentioned, maybe Turkey, maybe Dubai, maybe home in the Midwest states of the United States. It needs to be anywhere that possibility of creating a demand has to be recognized, and then we have to enlist that direct channel provider to get that device into those hands wherever that person may be working. And as orders are flexible, it shows us that we may be using inventories and devices from different locations in the world. So whereas in the past we had maybe a few hub warehouses and some smaller piles of devices where we could issue IT hardware from, now we have many more piles of either assets either at a forward stocking location, at a vendor managed inventory location, or still at a warehouse or a campus location. And we have to be able to use those assets wherever they are and to move those into the appropriate channel to fulfill those orders. So that is a very flexible and adjustable network to support any degree of possibilities. And our remote first support systems, as mentioned on our technical support team, are key to sustaining going forward. Quite obviously, as I had mentioned this earlier, but when users went to work from home, companies, while working from home, just as any company for sustained operations, hired new people to come work for the company. Never, ever had the employees step foot into the company office or had a chance to physically in process anywhere. They were sent a laptop in the mail, turned on the laptop, and given a piece of paper that says, "For support, call this number." and that the remote first support system were able to take them from a person who yesterday was not working for the company to today a fully effective and supported member of the company. So that creating that remote first support system is a lesson very well learned from companies sharing this hybrid workforce requirement or work from home requirement. And to sustain that going forward, they'll just have to do more of the same. And I mentioned there is that unexpected variables in there requiring flexibility and adjustability. And with that, thank you for your attention. And this is a very interesting subject for me because it's very close to my heart and what we do in my portion of Google where I work. And this is a constantly changing environment. So I every day when I go to work, there's something different or some new challenge to work through. So I'm excited to share that with you, and I'm sure some of you have already felt elements of this, and hopefully this part of the story will help tie into your global supply chain and procuring conference topics.